New World's underwent quite a lot of changes since the initial release in 2021. So in this video, we're going to go over an updated leveling guide from 1 to level 65 and some tips and things you need to do along the way and some things that you might want to avoid as you level and progress in New World Aeternum. So just as kind of a general comment off the top of this video, it is pretty easy to level in New World. It doesn't take a very long time. And my suggestion is to just really enjoy it and soak it in because you're only going to level once or at least have that first time leveling experience one time. A lot of people that have played the game in the past, you might want to speed level or rush through the game. So we'll go through the best way to do that. But if you are new and getting into the game for the very first time, I recommend just enjoying it. Try out some different weapons, experiment with some different armor types, and just try to enjoy the game for what it is. Because once you reach max level, you're just going to be there. You're going to be able to experience in-game forever, but you're only going to be able to experience that first leveling experience one time. But let's jump in here to some general leveling tips to get you guys started. So in the 20 tips video that I have done previously, I did mention archetypes just a little bit, but for those of you that may have missed that video, we're going to talk about them very briefly here. So archetypes are simply a starting point in New World. You're not going to be locked into that choice. You can switch weapons and armor anytime you want in the game. You can also level every weapon and trade skill to max. So don't stress too much about the archetypes. Just make your decision based off of the trade skills though versus the weapons. So that's the tip here. Weapons are easy to obtain. You can easily switch them very early. The recommended archetypes are going to be soldier and occultist in my opinion for the trade skills that they provide because they're the hardest and most expensive to level. But none of the trade skills are very difficult to get up to level 50. And this is not a make or break type of situation. Just pick something that looks fun and roll with it and start your leveling experience in New World. So questing is going to be your main source of experience in this game. This isn't a game that you go grind out mobs for experience to get to max level. You really just want to stick to the main story quest. That's where the vast majority of your experience is going to come from. So make sure you do all of the main story, and then you're also going to want to grab side quests along the way as you progress the main story, because typically these side quests are in the general vicinity as the main story, which makes it very efficient to complete them in cycles, if you will, as you go. So you can go grab your main story quest, all of the side quests, go complete them, come back to the settlement and rinse and repeat in kind of a cycle. Also, whenever you first spawn into Aeternum and you're on the beach, make sure you pick up the quests there and do the quest on the beach before you go into the settlement, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to progress the main story, and that can be very irritating. So don't get too overzealous and run straight into the settlement and go explore. Make sure you're completing those quests as you go. Also, make sure you pick up every lore page you see as you're questing and as you're trying to level, because those are going to give you a decent amount of experience, especially early game. Those can be useful for hitting leveling milestones whenever you're right on the cusp and you don't really have a quest or a lot of mobs around. Just pick those things up for a little bit of extra experience. And this tip is for people that played way back in the day whenever New World first released. There are these things called town boards in the game. Back in the day, doing town boards was the way to level up in New World. It was the fastest way to get to max level. Those are no longer the way. Do not do town boards if you're trying to get XP. They give terrible XP. The main way you get XP, again, is doing the main story quest, and then side quests also give a decent amount. Town boards are not great. Make sure you stick to the main quest. That's your bread and butter. And staying on the topic of the main story quest, you also want to make sure you're doing that main story quest because it's going to give you some very valuable items. The primary item there is going to be the Azoth staff. That's a very vital part of the game and leveling in general. So make sure you do the quest, get your Azoth staff. There's going to be parts of the game you just can't do without one. So you want to make sure you're doing the quest to get that Azoth staff. And as you're questing, you're obviously going to be doing a lot of walking around, a lot of running from point to point. So whenever you're traveling on roads, this is going to give you a plus 15% movement speed bonus. So keep that in mind whenever you're traveling around while questing. Also, make sure you set your inn at your settlement. I believe that's going to be part of the early game quest, but don't forget to do that. It's incredibly valuable early on, as it's going to be your only source of open world fast travel until you can purchase a home. So you're going to be able to fast travel via shrines back to town, but you can travel back to the inn from anywhere on the map. There is a cooldown to do this, so make sure you use it wisely, but make sure you set an inn early on. Pick up the fast travel shrines as well that you are near while you're questing. So as you're questing, make sure you open up your map every now and then looking for fast travel shrines. If they're close to you, make sure you go grab that thing so you can easily get back to that location in the future. And then if you encounter a jumping puzzle, and you're going to while you're questing early on, make sure you're looking for the white spots on the ground or the white stains on the rocks. That's going to lead you up into the area that you need to go. It is the path that you need to take to complete that jump puzzle. And last but not least, for the traveling tips here as you're leveling, make sure you go get your mount as soon as possible. So you're going to need to be level 20 before you can obtain one. You also have to own Rise of the Angry Earth expansion in order to get a mount. But get a mount at level 20. I highly recommend that you kind of pause any other questing that you may be doing, any other activities you may be doing. Once you hit level 20, just kind of push pause on those things. Head to Northern Everfall. You'll see the icon on your map and get that quest. It's very quick to do. Do that quest, get your mount, and then you'll be able to run around a whole lot faster as you progress the main story. There's also quite a lot of milestones and rewards that you're going to hit as you level up. So for example, whenever you hit level 20, you're going to get your ring slot. You're going to unlock a main story quest to obtain the Azos staff, and you're going to unlock the ability to queue up for 3v3 PvP arenas and unlock the mount quest. So level 20 is one of those really big milestones. But as you progress every 5 levels, you're going to hit another milestone that's going to give you some sort of reward. If you want to see all of those, you can just go into your character menu and then simply click the button to view the leveling rewards, and you'll be able to see all of those milestones and all the rewards you're going to get as you progress. And also, every time you level, make sure you are utilizing your attribute points. That's going to help you deal out a whole lot more damage or have more survivability if you want to put it into Constitution. Just make sure you are using those points, and as you level up weapons, make sure you're using those points as well for abilities that you might want to use on that particular weapon. And if you're leveling completely solo and you're just there for the story, or you can't find a group for an expedition, which I don't think you're going to have that problem early game. I think there's going to be enough people to run even the earlier expeditions like Amrine, and as you progress through the levels that you should be able to run a lot of those early level expeditions in the beginning. But if you can't for whatever reason, or just simply don't want to, there is an option to skip the MSQ expedition quest. You'll see this option as you continue to quest. Just make sure you keep an eye on what objectives you're on. But if it is possible for you to run the expeditions, I highly recommend them because they are a fun and integral part of PvE in New World, and they're going to reward you with some nice loot and some nice rewards that it's relevant to your level, and it's going to give you quite a lot of experience whenever you run through those expeditions. So if you can do them, you can do them, but I thought it was worth mentioning that you can skip them if you're not interested in grouping or doing any of that content at all. So now let's talk about what you do during certain level ranges as you're leveling in the game. So after you run through the tutorial, you're going to be level 2, and that's whenever you're going to start on the beach. So again, don't run straight into the settlement whenever you spawn on the beach. If you do this, you're going to have to run back to the beach and complete the quest before you can accept any quest in the settlement. So don't skip them. It's just going to end up being super annoying for you if you skip them. So once you're on the beach, you just run immediately to the main story quest giver at the watchtower. He's going to be marked on your map. He's going to be easy to find. But it's recommended at this point that you just kind of stick to the main story quest on the beach if you're trying to level pretty efficiently. You don't really want to stop along the way to gather excess items or really kill excess mobs, because all of your experience, or most of your experience, is going to come from doing that main story quest. But you do want to stop and pick up maybe some additional flint and some wood so that you can make tools at the campfire prior to heading into the settlement. So you get a quest to make one tool. While you're there, you can go ahead and craft all of the tools. This will help you a little bit later on. And a couple of other useful things to pick up as you're completing some quests on the beach is going to be some herbs and some bulrush cob that's along the water's edge if you come across it. These are both used to craft weak health potions, and that'll just kind of give you a leg up once you make it into the settlement. You can craft a few health potions as you progress through some more of the quests. Then once you reach level 17, you're going to be able to join a faction. The initial faction quests are located in Everfall. So it's recommended that you just finish any quest you're working on, and then you're going to head straight to Everfall to join a faction prior to continuing the main story or any of the other side quests that you may have. So there's 3 different faction enclaves in Everfall. There's the Syndicate in the north, the Marauder Enclave is over in the west, and then the Covenant Enclave is in the southeastern corner of the zone. So you just need to choose which faction you wish to be a part of, and then go to that enclave to begin the quest. And again, you're going to see these quests marked on your map once you reach level 17. Joining a faction as soon as you can is recommended so that you can begin running your 3 daily faction missions for the additional experience they will provide. You do get a daily bonus for the first 3 faction missions you run a day, so you're going to get extra experience and extra gold for those. You can pick up faction missions from your faction representative located in any settlement. This is going to give you a nice experience boost every day, along with a little bit of additional coin. And after you join a faction, you're also going to have the opportunity to flag for PvP. If that's your thing, you can now flag for open world PvP. So if you are a PvPer, you must join a faction prior to doing this. So you need to go to your faction representative at level 17, do those quests, join a faction, and then you can open world PvP. Even if you don't like to PvP, it still might be worth it to flag up for you, because you do get a 10% experience boost while you're flagged. So whenever you run back into the settlement to pick up another set of quests, make sure you stop by your faction vendor as well so you can check out any quests that may be in the same vicinity as the other quests that you're doing. Those would be worth doing kind of at the same time. And there's also usually faction missions available for each expedition. So anytime you go to run an expedition, make sure you check the settlement of the zone that the expedition is in prior to running that dungeon, because there are oftentimes faction missions available for those expeditions that will give you more rewards and more experience. So after you join a faction, you can then just head back to the main story quest and side quest until you reach level 23. So level 23 is a pretty crucial level because then you're going to unlock the ability to gain access to the Amrine excavation. And again, you can skip this if you're running solo or just don't want to do it, but you do have the option to run this expedition at level 23. It's your first dungeon experience. The expedition also has a repeatable quest. So every time you do this expedition, if you run it more than once, make sure you pick up that quest before going in there, because that's just going to give you even more experience. And then it's worth noting here again that once you reach level 20, make sure you head to Northern Everfall to get that mount. From here, you just really want to continue to do that quest loop of main quest and side quest, and then you'll easily get up to max level by doing this. There are some additional level milestones that you should be aware of though. So at level 33, you're going to gain access to Starstone Barrows, which is the second expedition in the game that you'll have access to. At level 43, you're going to gain access to the Depths expedition. And then at level 55, you're going to gain access to the Dynasty Shipyard expedition. All three of those expeditions also have repeatable quests. So if you're going to do these multiple times or even just once, make sure you pick up that quest before you go into the expedition. And also make sure you check with your faction representative to see if they have any available quests in there as well. And then upon hitting level 60, you just still want to continue doing the main story quest, but there is another big milestone quest you want to make sure you do once you hit level 62. This was kind of a side quest before. I'm not really sure if this is going to be included in the main story now or not. But either way, once you hit level 62, there is going to be a quest in Brimstone Sands called Secrets of the Heart Gem that's going to unlock. So you want to do this in order to unlock your Heart Rune slot so you can begin to use these, because they're going to be very important to your progression in the game. And then after you get your Heart Rune at level 62, you're just going to continue the main story quest in Elysian Wilds, and then that's going to get you to level 65, and it's also going to get you to roughly gear score 640 to 650. Once you're at 640, 650, you can then start doing some of the in-game content, some of the harder expeditions, and then even some of the level 1 mutations to then progress on into level 2, level 3 mutations. That will begin to raise your gear score on into roughly the 700s, where you can progress on into more of the in-game content to push your gear score up to 725. We're not going to go into how to get to 725 gear score. I'll make another video for that one a little bit later on, but that's going to do it for the leveling guide. Some leveling tips there for you. I hope you guys found this information useful. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that, and stay tuned because I have a lot more New World content coming here on the channel. But thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.